Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. To those in Australia, good morning. Welcome to this week's edition of the Fabrica Show and Tell. I am Mark Schilling, and I'm your host. I'll be here with you for the show. If you're new here, you might be watching this live. You might be watching this on Facebook. We might be on another platform like YouTube, maybe even Instagram. You might be watching it live. You might be watching it on recording. All of that is great. Feel free to participate. Love to hear from you. Again, happy to be here. Happy to spend some time with you talking about quilts. While we're getting started, getting a few folks in here, I see we're getting some folks in. Say hi in chat if you would, either on Facebook or on YouTube for me. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're calling or you're watching from. That would be super awesome as well. Again, we're always on that quest to see if we can't get all 50 states and as many international countries and provinces as we can. So please drop that into chat for us. All right. Also, one thing for this show, I've been authorized to give away some stuff. So free stuff, right? So we're excited about that. So the more people that come in, definitely lets me give away more stuff. Just good idea here is hit that button on the side and hit the share button to your feed, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. Just kind of share it out for us and see if we can't get some of your friends in. Tag some of your friends and we'll have some fun. Let's talk a little bit about the show. I see Cora's coming in from Southern California and Valerie from Remington, Virginia. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you joining us and spending some time. Let's talk about the show, okay? We got a really big show here today. That's my Johnny Carson thing, as you know. Get to have another guest. If you were here last session at the beginning of September, we had Sarah Hunter, one of our designers. She was with us. We had a lot of Q&A. We talked a lot about pattern design, how we do it, how to do it, and some of the concepts behind that. It was a great show, okay? We're going to look at the featured quilt of the month for September here at the Fabric Cut. I'm going to talk about some other deals that we have as well. And I have another guest, another special guest. This is awesome. I have Leah McGee from Inspired Quilting by Leah Louise, and she's going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is half square triangles. If anybody that talks to me for any given length of time about quilts, you're going to hear the word half square triangles or HSTs. So we're going to talk about those today, okay? And then at the end, we're definitely going to have some Q&A to let you ask some questions, and we'll go from there, okay? All right, let's get to it. First of all, and I'm seeing new folks come in. Thank you for joining us, letting us know where you're at. Wanda is in Kentucky. Glenda from Banks, Alabama. Elena from Northern California. And Sue is coming to us from North Carolina. And then we got our first Canadian in. Thank you, Michelle, from British Columbia. All right, I'm going to step this way. And this is the feature quilt of the month here at the Fabric Hut. This is called Garden Starry Night. And as you can see, it's this beautiful blend of greens and blues. Got the white background, floral border, and it is an excellent, excellent fun kit to put together. I want to show you the kit itself as we get going here. If you're new here, you might not have seen it before. These are our kits. This is Garden Starry Night. What you get in your kit is the pattern, and then you get all the fabric. Now, normally this one, its regular retail price for this kit is normally $230, $62, I believe. But for this stream, it's on sale for $138.97. And what is great about our kits, I'm not going to pull everything out because I want to get to our guest as quickly as possible, but everything is pre-cut. Everything in here is pre-cut and ready to go. All the colors, all the cutting. All you're going to do is unpack, sort, organize, open up your pattern, and get to sewing. So that is really cool. Let's talk a little bit about the backing on this one. You also get not only the fabric for your top, you get your binding, and you get your backing. So you get your yardage of backing included for one price. That's $138.97. Let me drop the link into chat for you all here. And almost have it. There it is. Let's drop this into chat and we'll get going. Oh, copy and paste. Come on, here we go. That should drop in for y'all. All right, that is there. In addition to Garden Starry Night, the one I got behind, and let me tell you, I just love these colors, and I love the pattern. You can also get one of our feature favorites, which is the Star Spangled quilt. We have that kit on sale as well for $169 through that link. And this one is just beautiful. Those who've watched the show before know that this one was on the wall the entire month of July. This is a great quilt of valor. So if you're interested in that one, definitely pick that up. All right. Hi, Shirley from Alaska. Welcome in. All right. In addition to that, there's a lot of stuff on that sale page this week. So those of you just coming in, make sure you share. We're going to give away some stuff today. It's going to be super fun. More people, the more stuff I can give away. Make sure you hit that like button on YouTube, subscribe and all those things, but share out if you can. In addition, on the sale pages I just posted in the links in chat, there's also the charm packs that we are using today that Leah Louise is going to show you. There's a batiks charm and then a white charm pack for sale on there as well. And the final thing, I don't have a ton of these left, but there is also this 29-piece. I don't have one to show you because we're selling them so fast. It's a 29-piece hand sewing tool kit. It's going to get you some of the binder clips. I probably have one here. Yeah. Or these little, the little plastic clips. Get you some of those, some rippers, a ripper, a couple of tools for your quilting and sewing needs. But check that out. It's on sale at 50% off, and definitely makes a great gift. Okay. All right. Moving on. So I don't want to spend too much time. If you have any questions, about anything that you see here, please type them into chat. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. Any questions about quilts or anything like that, definitely drop those in. I'm going to put a banner across. I'm going to show the banner. Again, this is your Facebook Live. If you want to get that discount on any of the products, I believe there's some blades on there as well. Definitely pick up blades if you haven't got those yet. All right. We got Leslie, we got the Pastry Queen. Love the quilt behind you. Thank you. Thank you. We got Kay Alvarez from Houston and Tia from Charlotte, Leslie from San Mateo, Florida. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're really rocking and rolling tonight. I'm super excited to be here. But again, I don't want the show to be about me this week for sure. We have an awesome guest. So without any further ado, let me do the intro here. Our guest tonight is no stranger to quilting. She's been making quilts for over 40 years and sewing for about 60. She comes from a family of really talented and creative seamstresses and sewers and needleworkers. She learned from a very early age how to thread a needle and has been going strong ever since. Okay. So between all of her sewing projects, she worked a little bit in customer service, but retired to quilt full time. Now, isn't that the dream? Put a 1 in chat if that's the dream. Retire and quilt full time. Actually, I guess I get to play with quilts quite a bit. Maybe not full time, but I'm pretty close. All right, put a 1 in chat if you'd love to retire and quilt full time. All right. You might recognize her from her YouTube channel where she has over 240 videos that are linked up to her website, 40,000 subscribers, and over 3.7 million views. I use I use the tutorials as well. They're excellent. And you might also recognize her from some of our pre-cut tutorials that we have for various kits that we sell here at the Fabric Cut. So please welcome Leah Louise to the stage. I'm going to take off the, unmute your mic there.
Hey, Mark, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. This is so cool. I love doing these because we get to bring a different perspective to the show and a lot of experience. But before we get started, before we jump in, I have one question. I want to ask you about these sewing machines that you won. Now, one of these was won at a rodeo. You got to tell me what was going on at that rodeo.
When I was between 4th and 5th grade, my family moved from Massachusetts to Colorado. And that fall, the biggest event in Denver is the Great Western Stock Show and Rodeo. And we went. Of course we did. You have to do that. The only one bigger in the country is up in Cheyenne. So we did that. We had a fabulous time, and the mall was filled with all kinds of booths and sign up for this and that. And my mom and I, each of us put a ticket in to win a sewing machine, and I got one. What are the chances?
That is so cool. That is so cool. I was envisioning, riding
No.
or something like you jumped on the back of that sheep and you won and you ran all the way across the arena and they handed you a
No. I just dropped a ticket in the bowl and I got very, very lucky. I was blessed on that one.
Oh, that's awesome. All
I
right.
have to tell you about the embellisher because I went to a quilt show in Chicago. It used to be done by Quilting Arts, the magazine, and it's since changed hands. I don't know all that. But it was a wonderful quilt show, and I attended one of the luncheons, and they had a little, let's make one of these. And then each table had to pick somebody to go to the front of the room to kind of demonstrate what it was we made. And so they picked me. I'm not sure why, maybe because I'm so outspoken. But we had to entertain the room, and whoever did the best entertaining won an embellisher. It's just like a sewing machine, but it has little 7 needles, and it punches your roving and things like that into the fabric. So it's really awesome, but I had to quack like a duck. And obviously I did it really well because I won the machine.
Quacking for like a duck for a new machine. That's awesome. That's a great story. All right, so let's, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, let's talk about half square triangles. Again,
Yes.
For me, it's HSTs. They are so entirely versatile. I absolutely love them. One of the things I love to do is, I love to play with them. And I'm just going to show an image here. This is just me playing around with using a half square triangle in design. And what's interesting to me is that I can start here, and this is actually this just mirrored.
Right.
And every row is like that. It's the same pair of blocks, just reimagined or flipped in a different direction. And when I just think that's the one cool thing about design is that a half square triangle can take you so far in quilting, just that one thing.
And then for me, the additional aspect is the color, the way you play with colors, with lights and darks. And I think scrappy half square triangles are my favorite. I do like the blue and the white or the red and the white. And I've done a lot of black and white backgrounds with bright red and rose, which is fabulous. But somehow those scrappy quilts just really get my attention. I love seeing so much color in one quilt.
Oh, for sure. And I'm just looking at chat. If I miss you coming in, we're really popping tonight, so I might miss you, but welcome all of those who've come in. I see Cindy has said, hey, there's a fabric cut quilt behind Leah Louise. Yes, that is.
Yay! I was hoping someone would see that.
So good job, Cindy, on picking that up. That is awesome. Yep, that is the one behind. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is your approach? Now, there are a lot of ways to do half square triangles. There's 2 at a time, 4 at a time, 8 at a time. People can get really creative with how many. I think it always depends on where your finish needs to be.
And I've done as many as 40. I think it was 42 at a time. So you can really take it quite a ways.
Wow.
That's a big piece of fabric, but it works awesome.
I bet it did, because there's a way to do that. And when you're making a lot of the same thing, it's easy. And if you don't want to make your own things, I'll use the plug again. Buy one of our pre-cut kits. They're already cut and ready to go.
And that's what I did for today with the charm squares. Oh my gosh, that batik collection is fabulous. Those are wonderful fabrics in there.
Yeah, it is. They're so pretty. They're so pretty. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to turn this over to you, Leah, to kind of talk about how you approach a half square. I know you've got a couple of camera angles there so we can look down and see.
Yeah, let me switch over to the table. I have some things laid out, and I can give you an idea of how I do that and get a few samples put together and show you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I've got you.
Okay.
We're trying to get our cameras organized here. So
okay.
for just a second.
I'm glad it's you and not me. I have all I can do to get it here.
I'm just trying to get us into a different view, and I'm not having much luck. I want to see if I can't slide you into soul. There we go. Now it's you.
Okay. Well, the most important thing to me when I'm making a half square triangle is that the outer edges that I'm going to sew and join to other blocks be on the straight of the grain and not the bias, because that creates stretch. It creates difficulty putting the blocks together, and you're not going to get really good joins at where your seams butt up. So what I do, and I love charm squares for this reason, is I will come in, and these are 5-inch, so they're nice and easy to work with. I'm going to draw my line, and that's the extent of it. That's all I have to do. Important, though, you make sure that line goes right into your corners. And then when we join these together, front to back, again, because these are all pre-cut, they're fabulous, they fit together nice, and I'm going to run this through my machine. Now, what I've done is I chain stitch. Now, you can't really see. I sew from the top because that's where my line is, but you can see better from the back, I believe. I think you can see maybe the seam that goes down one side. So I go one side along the line, and I go all the way through all my blocks. Then I cut it, I turn it around, and I come back. And then you can see here, these all have the double seam like that. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half, but I want to show you a trick. When you are working with half square triangles, trimming can be a huge endeavor. And I found a few shortcuts that really work well for me. And part of that is trimming my blocks apart. I have my nippers, whether you use scissors or even put it on the table and use your rotary cutter. Cut this point off between the two seams. So I'm going to come in right here, and what I'm doing is I'm cutting off those dog ears. So when I come in to trim my half square triangle, those dog ears are gone. And if I'm doing that while I'm running through my blocks, that just saves me so much time, because then I don't have to come back and trim those pieces off. Now what I'm going to do is cut this in half, and I have 2 half square triangles. That is how simple it is. Now, one thing we want to do, though, is we want to press it, and then we want to trim it. But I'm going to show you, by doing it the way we're doing it here, it really is very easy to trim. What I do is I'm going to take, let's see, we'll take this one here, because I have a trick on the way that I cut them as well. So I showed you if you just have one, cut it down the center. But I love my square ruler. And having one anywhere from 5 to 6.5 inches works really well. And I think you can see here, what I have done is put a piece of Scotch tape on the back of my ruler and drew a line at the 4.5 point. So 4.5 to 4.5, because that's what this block needs to be trimmed to. And so now all I need to do is line this line on my block. And what I do is I line it up with the seam that I sewed, not the cutting line, but the seam that I sewed. And I'm going to line this up here and here. Now, as you're doing so, you want to make sure that your 4.5 is covered from one side to the other. You don't want to have it like this where there's no fabric up there. You've got to have fabric under your ruler before you start trimming. And I make sure everything's good. But look at that. Do you see anything that needs to be trimmed? They're beautiful. I love it. This is such a great way to do it. And then I'm going to check the other side, because sometimes one side will need trimming, but not both. But again, look at how close they come on. There's so little waste. I have a stack of maybe 80 of these, and this is all that I trimmed off. I saved this just to show you. So this is a real time saver. And what I love about this is this gives us more time to play with the blocks, because I have some wonderful layouts that I love to share. Now, I want to know, Mark, let me know if anybody has questions, if I went too fast, if I need to cover something else, or maybe show it again in a different manner.
I don't have any new questions, but yes, folks, if you have questions, please type those in to the chat so that we can ask them. If that was too fast, if we need to go over it again. I really love the idea of trimming off the dog ear at the tips, because that is one thing that after it's sewn, things get, and you're trying to press back out, and then you've got one more thing to do. Having one less thing to do is always ideal.
Well, I'll tell you, I do it at my sewing machine. So after I've done my chain piecing, and where's my pile? One of these here that I have sewn already. I can't even find it now. There it is. I will have these, and I'll just cut as I go. And so when I'm done, my lap is full of all the dog ears. But it's easier to deal with that way than to have to cut each one individually as I'm trimming my square. And by doing it with charm squares, I find there's so little trimming required that it saves me a lot of time.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's that time saving. And then that's the other beautiful thing about starting with this size, starting with a charm pack. You know that your fabric is exactly the same size all the way across. And so I love that small pile of waste, because we all hate to have waste, and not having to do a lot of trimming is always a good thing.
So I'm going to play with this. I'm just making sure I've got you on the camera okay. And I'm just pulling some different colors together here, because like you say, you can have one block do one thing, and then you bring in some others, or turn things around, or do the reverse. Let's see, I think we can go like this. And so this is just a simple square and a square. It's very easy. And let's put a blue over here. I do get a little fussy with my colors. I don't want two of the same colors really close together. And 16 is a great number to work with, because a lot of the half square triangle blocks are made with a 4x4 block. So we've got the 16. So here's a fun one. It makes a great quilt. But now look at what we do. We turn these in reverse. So we're alternating a batik block with the white on white block. And let me just say what I really enjoyed about this white block, Mark, the pack of charm squares, is I expected just one pattern of white on white, but there were at least 5 or 6 different prints in there. And I really liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. But so now we can do this. Let's see. I can put one more over here. I'm doing this reverse from where my camera is. Sorry.
You're doing fine. And for those watching, the fabric that Leah Louise is using is directly from the Fabric Hut. This is our batiks. And at the link that you see scrolling across the bottom, and I've put it in chat a few times, that link gets you those batiks. There's 100 of the batiks in the charm pack for, I think, $33.73. And that 102 pack of white on white, as Leah just mentioned, is absolutely wonderful. The pattern variations, it's a great white on white, lots of movement and things like that. And I'm looking at chat here, Leah, before we go too far. We have some questions. Tim is asking, do you square with a block lock?
No.
Okay.
I think the block lock is the special, like the grid ruler that you can put this up against the seam, and then you lock it in there, and then you trim it that way. I just use my regular 6-inch. It's an OmniGrid. It doesn't have any grooves. I know there are rulers that have the grooves in it, so that when you are trimming this, you put it in when it's folded, and it kind of fits into a little groove there, and that helps you line it up better. I'm a minimalist. I like lots and lots of fabric, but I don't want a lot of tools because they get in my way and I need room for fabric. So I don't use a lot of those items. For me, I like finding ways to do it with what I have, because I don't know. My great grandmother used to sew, and She emigrated to the United States when she was 17 and you know, learned to do so much and with so little. And I still have some of her sewing items, and they're just very simple pieces, and we can make it work. Now, I'm not adverse to the others. I love it. There's a lot you can do, and go for it if that's what you enjoy. But for me, it really is all about the fabric.
That's a great it's a great question, because there are a lot of new tools out there, a lot of different because the acrylic templates are out there. So the good news is when, especially for those just starting out and learning, having just simple tools is always a great way to go. Now, Sue had asked while we're here as well. We got some great questions in here tonight. Sue is asking, how do you handle all of this when the edges are pinked?
Well, what I have found out is generally those pinked edges are like on the line. So if you put your seam or your fabric, let's say I have a pinked fabric and a straight one. If I put this where the pinked tips are just overhanging underneath, I'm okay. Generally, that pinked edge, it's like they cut it on the line, so half of the zig is in and the other half of the zag is out, if that makes sense. So if you were to cut off those tips, it would be equal to this. Does that make sense?
Let's see. We'll see if that made sense to Sue. Yeah, I'm dealing with some pinked edges on a charm pack that I'm using from one of our other shows with flannel. And the nice thing about buying them all at the same time on the pinked edges, a lot of times they're all cut exactly the same. And so when you do flip and you go right sides together to do some work like that, everything lines up anyways. It's kind of nice.
So do you see where I'm going here with this concentric square? This is one of my favorites. And you see how just by turning these a little bit this way and that, you get a really interesting pattern.
Oh, yeah, that's looking great.
You just keep building it outward. And that's why I said this is one of the ones that's perfect for scrappy. Okay, I did something wrong. I can see in the camera something's not right. There we go. This way. Okay. This is perfect. And I like doing low volume in the center, or even better, bright solids. Because when you have your solids and your prints, you still have enough contrast that it really stands out nicely.
It looks great. I mean, that's, again, as we watched you do that, there was just so much opportunity there to just twist and make, we're talking about 45 or 90, 180, 270 on the degrees, just flipping things around and you get something different. And that's just, I think that's what is just so exciting to me.
And it's a bit like a puzzle, and once you kind of get the hang of it and see what you can do, it's a lot of fun to play with. And you see how we've got a star going here now. And we'll pull these out. So we have a star and we want to make sure these corners point outward. See how those go out. So we have our star center and then we have our star points. And alternatively, you can do it this way, to emphasize the star points and just have a plain center. And then the fun thing too is if you have little bits of fabric, you can do the snowball in the corners and do wonky corners in the middle with, scrappy pieces. So there's a lot. I mean, you just give yourself a little bit of time and some play time, as I call it. But I have an entire playlist on my channel of just half square triangles. They're just so much fun to do.
Absolutely. And I'll link all of Leah's socials at the end of the show here. I'll put those in chat so that everybody can grab those and find those. But that is just the magic of them. I just love that. And I have seen some of your playlists. They're excellent. I did see that someone asked the question, what exactly does batik mean? It's kind of the layout of the coloring.
It's the process, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a wax process, And what they do, I think I'm doing my drunkard's path upside down, but I think we can all bear with it, I hope. Basically, they start with white fabric and they apply ink, or they apply wax. And the wax is the resist. So wherever the wax is, there won't be any ink. And they do that layer upon layer so that they can get multiple colors, and each color lays in a different way. Some may be stripes, and you can see now we've got like this here. We, excuse me, we have a multicolor background, but the dots were probably put in first. And so the wax goes in, so when they do this background, it doesn't fill in the dots, and then they do the dots, and it's an amazing process to see.
It absolutely is, and it gives you so many different gradient colors and natural flows between colors, and they're very creative. And
like, look at this one. Isn't that pretty? I love all the different colors, and there's a number of these in this set of batiks. If you've not worked with batiks before, this might be a good place to start, because there's so many different pieces, and you can get a feel of, you know, how you put your colors together. What I liked about this is there were, like, I think 17 or 18 different batik patterns in here. And as I said, to do a 16 patch half square triangle layout, all you need are the 16 pieces. So you can do one of these layouts without repeating any of the fabrics. And I think that's really cool.
And you can get this exact, this batik package at the link. They're on sale. You get 100 pieces. That's 5-inch charm pack. We'll drop that into the link again into the chat. And Sue, we can stick around to the end. We can revisit your question on pre-cuts with the pinking if you like. I'm definitely happy to stick around and handle that as well. And then let's see. Oh, Florence is asking, she's heard that batiks are stretchy. I mean, I think that they can be, but I think the version, it just depends on the quality of the manufacturing.
And not only that, I mean, batiks don't just come in quilting cotton. They come in rayons, and they come in other fabrics that can be stretchy, because, you know, that's what it is. But when I quilt like this with quilting cotton, there's no stretch. This is quilting cotton. You're not going to have that problem at all.
I'll share the story. I'm going to go back in time. I'm 24 years old. I'm managing a large craft store with a quilt shop with about 300 Quilt Club members who buy the block of the month and come for meetings. And I went on a buying trip, and I bought some batiks, and I didn't check the fact that it wasn't 100% cotton, and it was a mixed blend. And let me tell you how embarrassing that was. I bought that, thought I had a great piece, a great line coming back, and it was absolutely unusable for the quilt shop.
Kind of like an oops, but you don't know that unless, you know, someone tells you, unless you are familiar with fabric. Now, fortunately for me, having that first machine when I was 9, I grew up making my own clothes. And so, you know, that was the polyester days. Oh my gosh, those gaudy, awful, bright polyesters. And that's what we sewed. And a lot of that could stretch, but it would ravel and fray. And so you get a feel for it. And I can generally feel fabric and say, okay, yeah, that's a nice cotton versus some of the synthetics.
Okay, another design just popped up. Just as you can see, Leah's just playing with the design, rotating things around.
But there's a secret to this I want to share with you, Mark. This is a little 4-patch. See this? We've got, get it going the right way. We have 3 and 1. And see, we turn that one block, that same block, with a point to the center, and that's what we get. So all you have to do is make a bunch of blocks just like this. You see that simple 4-patch, right? And then when you line them up, I'm going to turn this one this way, then this way, and then turn it around over here. And then you get this great concentric square. This is and you can do it bigger and bigger, you know, and make it any size that you want. Like I said, the 16 patch works really well for me.
That's again, I love it. It's just so much fun, and that's the comments in the comment box on the stream here. Just how fun it is to play with it, and it isn't different really. I mean, it's 100% cotton when you're sewing batiks. It's all pretty. It's going to be treated the exact same way. The process is cleaned. I know that we talked about wax, but it's not heavier, thicker, or anything like that. It's really easy.
The wax is gone. By the time we get this, the wax has been washed out. One of the final things that they do in making this is to rinse it in super hot water. And I was visiting in the Bahamas at one point, and they have a small batik factory that we got to watch. And, it's a little kind of what do you call it? A homegrown kind of a project that they had going. And they had all these old bathtubs, and they would fill them with, half of them had the dye, and they would have the fabric dyeing in the tubs, and then they would put it in another tub where it would rinse. And then the fun part was to go by and see them on laundry day when all the batiks had been washed and they were hung out in the yard. So you see where I'm going here? But yeah, it's a lot of fun with what you can do.
Yeah, we're back to pinwheels.
Yeah.
Kenna, yes, you do mix the batiks. It's all cotton fabric. There's no extra handling. You want to mix batiks and regular, and straight cotton. That's exactly what this is here. We've got the white on white, which is a charm. Lorraine, that is in the shop. Just follow the link to our 102 charm pack white on white. It's in the shop at thefabrichut.com, and you can definitely grab those things there. Let's do this though. We're getting to the end of the bottom of the hour here, a little past. I think I need to give some stuff away. So here's what I'd like to do for those watching in live for us here. We're going to do one live drawing and one after. So what we'll do is we'll do one live and one after. That way the folks who are watching tomorrow or in the morning have a chance. I'm going to give away the 29-piece hand sewing tool set. So it's got some clips and some other things in it, and some rippers, a pencil, a few other things that will help you out. It's a nice little value. Let's do this. Let's type in the word September kit into chat, and I'm going to pick a number, and then we will give it a few minutes here before the end of the stream, and then I'll pick a number, scroll down those comments. So September kit into chat will get you entered. Like I said, I'll pick a number, scroll down, that person will get it, and then I'll do another random number tomorrow morning at noon Pacific time. That gives us some time for the reviews. We have a lot of people watching on the Thursday mornings. A huge amount of people watch the next morning on the reviews, because maybe it's late, it's dinner time, lots going on in the evenings. So those are popping in. Let's see what else. What other questions do we have? I'm going to pop back on the screen as well for a second. I'm going to show. Let's get the split layout. There we go. So I'm going to show again just another idea here. Again, I showed this at the beginning, but these are all just half square triangles that I created. This is in my little play program.
Yeah.
And
yes, on the bottom, you have the chevrons there. I didn't show the chevrons. Those were a lot of fun.
And they're just completely different. Like this one is a more structured chevron, but this one is on this side is a severed or separate flipped chevron.
Or fractured, or they've got all kinds of terms for them nowadays.
Super cool. Super cool. All right. So let's see. There's some questions still popping in. Should you wash cotton charms to allow for shrinkage? I would say no. We don't pre-wash any fabric. One of the tests that we get, so what'll happen, just so folks know, like if I get a new printing of fabric, that fabric comes here or to one of the designers, and we sew it, we put it through the wash, we run a number of tests on it just to make sure. But the fabric processes nowadays at the level of quilting cotton that we buy, that most people are selling, I'm not saying everybody, okay? Don't quote me on everybody, but the majority of a quality, reputable dealer, your fabric will not bleed. It's very hard to see that. That's the biggest reason for pre-washing back in the day, was a lot of the darks would bleed over. It's not something that we see very much anymore because the process has just been improved, because that has always been an issue. And pre-washing cut fabric gives you the opportunity for stretch and fray.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like to sew with those frayed edges.
It is definitely no fun for me. I get so frustrated with it. All right. What other questions can we answer for those in chat? I see a lot of folks in the kit and saying September kit, so I'm going to be scrolling back up. I'm going to get my number out of my randomizer rather than try to.
While you're doing that, Mark, I was mentioning to you earlier, just to give folks an idea, I'm working on my Starry Night, my Garden Starry Night fabric quilt. And what I'm doing is I'm making my stars scrappy, because there's about 5-ish or so different blues. And so each of my stars have different points. And I'm noticing on Mark's quilt, each star has the same color. So, there's a lot you can do to customize this. And, those are some ideas you might think about as you're putting it together.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hard to pull this one off the wall, but I'll try to move over a little bit and maybe we can see it a little bit more, a little different angle. But in this one, yes, like this is all the checkered, and then each one is different, but that's the beauty of the kit. You can always jump into whatever makes the most sense for you, whatever excites you as far as those things go. Like the quilt behind Leah there, the Floral Harmony, those rows can be adjusted any way that you like. That's the one fun thing about it. So let's see, I've got my number and I've got my person. Tia Henson. Tia Henson is the name, and that is on YouTube. So Tia, in chat, I'm going to just put, I won't be able to message you directly from this platform, but I'm going to put in chat, and this is for everybody who needs stuff from us or needs to talk to me. Customer care at the Fabric Hut. So Tia, I've written your name down.
Congratulations, Tia.
An email to customercare@thefabrichut.com. Tia, I will put an order, free shipping. We'll just plan to ship that thing right out. If you thought you might need or want something else to add into that package, include that. I can send you the invoice for that as well, but no obligation to buy anything. But I will ship out that 29-piece hand sewing tool kit. And then tomorrow at noon, before I log off for the day, I will draw another one. And everybody who's here gets that second chance because you were here. But I want to give everybody a chance. So whatever random number comes up, I'll scroll down to those comment counts, and that person will also get one of these kits as well. We were broaching upwards of high 80s, low 90s throughout the show, which is awesome. This is our most popular show, and it should be because we have an awesome guest sharing her quilting knowledge with us tonight. So as I put that information into the chat, customercare@thefabrichut.com. If you have any questions, please send those out. I'm the one that responds, so I'm the one that's walking you through those processes. You get a live person on the other end handling those things. I don't work 24/7, but I get back to you as quick as I can. And but just remember, it's only me. All right. But that is where we're at. So any other questions, folks? I'm going to scroll just while I was doing all that other stuff. The September kit is the one right behind me. Let me grab the package. I saw that. So with the quilt kit, the pre-cut kit, you get your pattern in the package. Garden Starry Night. That's the one on the wall behind me, this beautiful one. A reminder that you get the binding strips, you get all your fabric for the top, and you get your backing. The backing is a beautiful green. Beautiful green. Let's see if I got that. This one's white, but that was an earlier iteration. This is our new update. And then all of your fabric is cut and ready to go. And as Leah was talking about, the fabric is already in sections, ready to go. already cut. You see the dog ears are already gone. Whoops, that's
I was going to say, if I can mention, that's one of the things that I absolutely loved about this is that, as well as the white corner that goes on there for the half square triangle, all those dog ears are cut off, so they fit perfectly. Yes, yes, that makes it so easy.
It just simplifies, it reduces that extra step.
And it's accurate.
That's the beautiful thing. I love that about our kits. It's something that it's always nice to be that confident all the time, to be saying, you know, kits are cut well, the fabric is good, all the things that you need are included. All you need to do is provide your own batting, whatever weight you'd like, and finish her up. So lots of things for that. So yeah, this is it here. I'll show again. Star Spangled. A lot of star words this week. But this is Star Spangled, and this kit is on that link as well, on sale for $169, and I think 11 cents or something like that. But this is a great Quilt of Valor. It's a fun one. I think, Leah, didn't you do the tutorial on this one too?
I did, yes.
And the Flying
keep
Geese.
in mind, we've got Veterans Day coming up too, and that'll be a perfect opportunity to give someone in your family a Quilt of Valor like that.
And if you don't want to buy the kit for Star Spangled and you want the just the pattern, you can email me for that as well, okay? That's just for folks on the stream. All right. The white fabric that Leah was using, yes, that's our 102 white on white charm pack, available in the store. It's available at the link. I'm going to drop that in again. And again, keep dropping those questions. We'll help you out as much as we can. And then we'll start thinking about wrapping her up for the night. Let's see. Lots of beautiful quilts. And those who are coming over from who are followers and loyal subscribers to Leah's channel, we want to thank you for coming over and joining us here at the Fabric Hut. I really do appreciate it. I know that I see a lot more YouTubers today, and I know that that's a strong platform for you, Leah. And I'm going to drop in all of your socials here into the chat as well for everyone.
Well, and let your viewers know if they have any specific questions. I am always available to answer. I respond to the comments in any of my videos pretty regularly, and I try and catch up with everyone. But there's, you know, what I do is it's tutorials, and there are a lot of free printable tutorials as reference, you know, to remind you how to do different things. And so there's some opportunities there if you have specific questions that that you're not finding anywhere. There's a chance I can help you out.
Absolutely. You can either reach out directly or you can reach out to me, customer care at the Fabric Hut, and I can forward those. Or if I have the answer or the link, I'll help you out right away and save you some time. Joyce, I thank you. Love your kits. I love seeing that. Vicki, for a lighter quilt, what batting do you recommend? You know, Leah, do you have you're in Georgia, so
I do. I use Fairfield's low loft cotton. Anything low loft is going to be thinner and definitely lightweight. And I used to use the heavy stuff when I lived up in New England and out in Colorado because we get colder weather. But you know, now that I'm south, it's the low loft. It really makes a difference. And you can get it in polyesters too if you prefer that, because that does make a lighter weight quilt.
Absolutely. Low loft is great, lighter weight. I think that's what this is actually. It's rather thin. This is definitely just a throw lap blanket for someone.
And here's a secret. You can actually use a piece of flannel as your batting for a really lightweight baby quilt. I've done that a few times and that works out nice.
Yeah, and flannel can be found a lot of times, especially if it's just being sandwiched. You can find that at a really low price, especially at the clearance rack.
Absolutely.
I did that for a baby quilt last year. It's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions, folks, before we wrap things up? As always, we're a little long, but I don't mind. We normally stop right around 45 minutes. We're up on 50, but I don't mind because we've been having so much fun. Lots of folks in here tonight, able to give away some stuff. Chia Henson was our winner tonight. We'll definitely pick someone else again tomorrow at noon, but let's see. Sue's asking about shrink. always pre-wash if you're going to use it as batting. Yeah, that makes sense, I would say, especially for the flannel.
But here's another thought, because I do a lot of rag quilts. When I use flannel for my middle layer, I don't pre-wash it, because when you do wash it to get your fraying, it's going to shrink a little and it just makes it all nice and puffy and soft. I kind of like that as opposed to washing it ahead of time, because then you might be losing some of the fraying. I don't know how that works actually, but I like the idea of doing it after the fact and having everything cut, because different layers may shrink at a different rate. And remember, fabric shrinks more in one direction or the other depending on the way it's woven. And if your blocks are mixed up, they may shrink differently, but that's okay. I like that little puffiness that you get when you put them all together.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, I agree. Joyce, you're asking about paisley fabric. So all of the fabric that we sell here at the Fabric Hut is in our fabric packs. So we don't sell yardage. So everything is either in a layer cake or a charm pack or a roll or the paisley in the hen house. I think there might be a paisley pack in the kits. Or in the pre-cuts, but I don't have those other, we don't have it by the yard. I guess that's the simple answer to that. It's something we're playing with, but it takes a lot of detail, and right now, still growing. We're still growing. We're still getting our feet firmly planted. We want to do things right, and that's just one area. It's just not quite ready for it. All right. Any other questions, you all, before we let Leah go? I know that it's almost 9 o'clock her time, so we want to make sure we don't keep her up too late. I still got to go cook dinner.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Enjoyed. Thank you. I appreciate everybody. I know, Sue, if you're still here, if you want to pop back into chat, maybe I have some pinked fabric here with me if you want to talk about that. But for everyone else, I think we'll get ready to shut this thing down.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for having me. And I want to thank your viewers for following along. This has been great fun, and I appreciate the questions. And I look forward to hopefully we doing this again sometime. Absolutely. Thank you, Leah. We do really appreciate it. Yes, Sue K is back here. So when you're using pinked fabric on pre-cuts, I think the simple thing to talk about is the fact that, when you're lining things up, it's just a matter of getting things lined up perfectly. And then you're going to have to take into account that you're going to lose a little bit of that yardage. So as you can see here, right, I have a little bit of it here. You can see it's pink. Now this is flannel out of one of our charm packs, but it nests together. Like there's not a lot of extra. I'm not sure if I can show that perfectly, but there's not a lot of overlap because it's cut the same way. Most of the time you can find that dog ear that the cutter uses in one corner. And if you match those two corners up, it simplifies the process and makes sure that you're cutting and everybody's lining up and all the grain is going the same direction. And that typically will help make sure that you can get that done. Then, of course, when you're doing your, like in this case, your half square triangles, as you cut them and you start to square up, right, you're going to need to square those edges off as well. And that might mean that instead of ending at, what we say, 4.5, we would end up probably closer to 4.25 if you trim like you choose. Because what you'll find is, depending on your seam allowance as well, that can adjust the final size of your half square triangle. So there are a lot of variables, but you're right. The best thing is to measure a few of them up front, pick them out in different places from the pile, and see what the constant is, and choose the smallest number, and that's what you go with. Yep, agree. Totally agree. That is, I hope that answers the question, Sue. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but if you're just sewing edges like this is what I'm doing right now. These are flannels out of Harvest Rose, and we're doing a block quilt. And so I know that I don't have to worry about the pinking in this situation because, it's going to get sucked up by the 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is actually closer to, well, it's probably between 1/8 and a scant, to be honest. But that's just how that pinking works. So, all right. Any other questions, Vicki? Pattern. If you're talking about pattern for this kit here, we don't have that pattern available for sale.
If you want the one for Star Spangled, send me an email at customercare@thefabriccut.com. So customercare@thefabriccut.com. I'll help you out with that. But we typically don't have patterns available. It's not something that we've been selling at this time. It's just there's a whole lot of copyright things we deal with that. So any other questions? All right. I don't see any more. A lot of thank yous. I do appreciate you all being here. Stay tuned for next show. Haven't figured out exactly what it is, but we'll be back 2 weeks from tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Leah, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
Good night to the folks on the stream, and I'll catch you here in just a second.
All right. Good night.